We will now learn true facts about the drugs Rohypnol and GHB. First, Rohypnol. Rohypnol is used as a sedative before surgery in part because it causes amnesia. Thus, people will not remember the surgery and circumstances surrounding it. When the drug is given to an unsuspecting person in a club or something, it can make sexual assault much easier. As stated before, it makes the ingester sedated, uninhibited, and euphoric. It can also make them slur their speech and appear sleepy. Rohypnol also has a collection of more undesirable effects such as weakness, headache, difficulty breathing, nausea, and other effects. Rohypnol is a type of benzodiazepine, and so it performs on the central nervous system. If Rohypnol is mixed with alcohol and ingested, it will slow breathing and heart rate to low levels of death. It can also be mixed with cocaine to reduce the irritable effects while on a cocaine binge. Ironically, some people who take the sedative drug will act aggressive and excited like a kid who ate 10 pounds of sugar. Rohypnol in modern times physically looks like a pill. Well, those were the basics of Rohypnol, but guess what? But what about its history? Well, since Rohypnol is closely tied to benzodiazepines, we must talk about them first. Benzos were first discovered by a Croatian scientist, Leo Sternbach, in 1955, while working for a Swiss pharmaceutical company, Hoffmann Roche. Sternbach directed a team of researchers that helped him create and introduce many benzodiazepines, including Rohypnol. His discoveries made Roche a giant within the pharmaceutical industry. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, Roche released many of Sternbach's tranquilizers, and Rohypnol was first introduced by the company in 1975. Illegal use of Rohypnol began in Europe in the 1970s and continues to this day. Despite being illegal in the US, this drug is legal in many countries, so it is commonly prescribed throughout Western Europe. Perhaps the most troubling issue surrounding Rohypnol is use as a date rape drug. It is frequently used by perpetrators to officiate sexual assault. And to top this section of the video about Rohypnol and GHB, Rohypnol section, some street names these include Rofi, Circles, Mexican Valium, Rib, Roach 2, Roofies, Rupees, Rope, Ropies, and Ruffies. Now we will learn about GHB, and for this section of the video, the amazing Alex Kaltenbach Squirrelhead will be talking from here. Go, Alex!
All about GHB. First off, what is GHB? Well, GHB stands for gamma hydrobolic acid, I think. One of the slang terms for it is grievous bodily harm, which tells you a lot about this drug. It is euphoric and is supposed to cause lowered anxiety and reduced inhibitions. It tends to create a sedated effect, but paradoxically, it can create an excited state and hallucinations in some people. A person who has taken GHB may also suffer from nausea, sweating, and dreamlike state. Too large a dose or mixing it with alcohol can bring about a coma or even death. A person who has had a large dose of GHB will tend to flop around uncontrollably, rolling on the ground, falling down, being incoherent, grimacing, and rolling his eyes. He may get hurt while running around out of control and have no memory of it because of the amnesia caused by the drug. There is no antidote for this horrible drug. A person who regularly abuses this drug and is addicted to it may have to go through withdrawal symptoms in order to get sober. These effects include insomnia, tremors, fast heart rate, and occasional psychotic thoughts. The drug is usually made in small illicit labs, so it is impossible to completely control the dosage, and therefore the effect of this drug will have on one. Now for some history. GHB was synthesized and introduced into medicine in 1963, and 3 years later, there's a discovery that one of the chemicals inside GHB was found in the human brain. Throughout much of the 1960s, it was a popular anesthetic, but was abandoned by doctors following the discoveries of its poor analgesic effects. In the 1970s, GHB was recommended for treatment of narcolepsy, though it was also found to be an ineffective and unpopular form of treatment, primarily due to its euphoric side effects. Use began to intensify in the 1980s when it was marketed as a fat burner and muscle developer. However, in 1990, based on more than 30 reports of GHB-linked illness, the FDA declared the chemical unsafe and ordered it to be removed from store shelves, thus limiting the user's ability to purchase the product. And now, some street names on GHB. This includes Gamma O, Liquid E, Fantasy, George Homeboy, Grievous Bodily Harm as stated before, Liquid X, and Liquid Ecstasy. Drugs are bugs. You don't eat bugs, so don't eat drugs.
Well, I was on holiday. There was a group of 4 of us, 4 girls, and we went to a bar that was on like a beachfront, and we had a couple of drinks, and after that it was just complete blackout. It must have been hours and hours later on the strip, surrounded by people, and I had lost my shoes, my top, my shorts, and I was literally in a top that I didn't remember having on. Yeah. And I took my friend home, and I just sort of dragged her back to the hotel, and in the morning we woke up and was like, what was that?
And when you woke up, how did it make you feel? Like, what was running through your head? What was going on?
We were very scared, like we didn't know what had happened. We just kept talking to each other about it and being like, do you remember anything? And we just didn't, we had no recollection of it. So.
What do you think you could have done differently to maybe avoid the situation happening?
Well, it's a situation I've never been in before, like, drinks like that shouldn't have hit me. Going back to it, I know how much I drank. It should have been fine. So I think there was something in there that we hadn't had before or wasn't meant to be there. So going back and not avoiding the situation, maybe one of us shouldn't have drank so that the rest of the people had someone to like look after us. But I wouldn't know how to deal with that again really, because it was just so unusual.
And if there was anyone else who was in your situation, what advice would you give them if this happened to them?
Just try not to think about it. There's nothing that you can really do in the end. Like, what's done's done, so don't dwell on things and try and look after yourself more in future. Be with a group of people that you trust.